إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سار على سبيله إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So inshallah ta'ala continue, we've reached ayah 253 of surah Al-Baqarah. Allah mentioned after أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم تلك الرسل فضلنا بعضهم على بعض منهم من كلم الله ورفع بعضهم درجات وآتينا عيسى بن مريم البينات وأيدناه بروح القدس ولو شاء الله ما اقتتل الذين من بعد ما جاءتهم البينات ولكن اختلفوا فمنهم من آمن ومنهم من كفر ولو شاء الله ما اقتتلوا ولكن الله يفعل ما يريد. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentions those are the messengers, تلك الرسل فضلنا بعضهم على بعض, that we have made some more virtuous than others. Now, from among them are those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to, and that is who? Who did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speak to? Musa alayhi salam. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke directly to Musa. But from this also we learn الرسل يتفاضلون, yani they are different in terms of virtue. There are those who are more virtuous than others. The best of the messengers are who? Who are the best of the messengers? Not one, as a group. Who are the best of the Rusul?
The descendants of Ibrahim himself?
Ibrahim, Musa, Isa, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
What they refer to as فاصبر كما صبر أولو العزم من الرسل. أولو العزم. نعم. أولو العزم. نعم. And the best of all the prophets and messengers is who? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Can we pray funeral prayers for a cat? You're back. I have to put you on timeout again, check me out. Allah understand, this person, they're a real troll, you know. Put this user on timeout. Allah understand. So, Ulul Azm, they are the best of the messengers, and then after that, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu after the Rusul, al-Itlaq, is the best of all prophets and messengers. Now, however, as we mentioned, when it comes to the prophets and messengers, they're not all the same. There are those that are more virtuous than others. But when we say لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله, that we don't differ in any of the messengers, what does this mean? It doesn't mean we don't differ in terms of them being better or not. It's talking about we don't reject. Because of the ways of Ahlul Kitab, they yunkiruna ba'da rusul. They reject some of the messengers. They don't accept all of the messengers. As for us, we know, as Allah mentions, there are messengers that He has narrated their tales to us, and there are those who He has not mentioned. So we believe in the prophets and messengers ijmalan wa tafseelan, in general and in the specific details that Allah has mentioned, or that which has come regarding them in the way of the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As for that which we don't have any information about, for example, you have what is called Isra'iliyat. Isra'iliyat, these are like narrations from the people of the book that have been mentioned in Tafseer, about people that preceded this ummah. Now, we don't affirm and we don't negate. We affirm if there's something from the Quran and the Sunnah to also affirm that. So then we affirm it. And we don't negate unless we have evidence from the Quran and Sunnah to negate it. We say, Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. And sometimes people, they get affected by Iblis in becoming busy with asking questions about these things. لا يترتب عليه أي عمل ولا اعتقاد. Where you find the things that they're asking about, there's nothing attached to the question. Like when you get an answer, it doesn't make you do an action. It doesn't change anything for you. It has absolutely no benefit. And these are the types of questions that we have been warned from asking. These are the types of questions we've been warned from asking. Now, when it comes to who Allah SWT spoke to, is it only Musa alayhi salam?
There's a story of a man that he was told to follow, and the man said to him, "You follow me, but you can't." They'll ask me. I don't remember the exact story, but
Does it mention Allah spoke to him, or is it mentioned وَعَلَّمْنَاهُ مِن لَدُنَّا عِلْمًا? We taught him. It doesn't say we spoke to him.
Allah spoke to Musa only.
Is it? No. Laylat Isra wal Mi'raj. In the night of ascension. حين فرض علينا 5 salawat. When the 5 salawat were made obligatory. Because remember, Musa alayhi salam كان رفيقا بهذه الأمة. Musa alayhi salam was compassionate towards even this ummah. And he said, go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because your ummah will not be able to bear 50 salatan fil yawm. Now, so Prophet Muhammad sallallahu is also and Adam alayhi salam. And it was mentioned that this was ورد به الحديث المروي في صحيح ابن حبان عن أبي ذر. نعم. So ورفع بعضهم درجات كما ثبت في حديث الإسراء حين رأى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الأنبياء في السماوات بحسب تفاوت منازلهم عند الله عز وجل. When it talks about them being of different virtues, this was evident from the hadith of Isra wal Mi'raj. When the Prophet ascended through the samawat, he saw different prophets and messengers within different levels of Jannah. So within that we know they're not all of the same level. Also was mentioned وَآتَيْنَا عِيسَى بْنَ مَرْيَمَ الْبَيِّنَاتِ وَآتَيْنَا عِيسَى بْنَ مَرْيَمَ الْبَيِّنَاتِ الْحُجَّجِ وَالدَّلَائِلِ الْقَاطِعَاتِ عَلَى الصِّحَّةِ مَا جَاءَ بَنِي إِسرائيل بِهِ. So I mentioned that we gave Isa alayhi salam any proofs, clear proofs that will aid him, and these are called Dala'il al-Nubuwah, things that are signs of prophethood. Each prophet was given this. Each prophet and messenger was given what is referred to as Dala'il al-Nubuwah, signs that would allow people to believe in them, to believe that they are sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From the signs of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for example, inshiqaq al-qamar, the splitting of the moon. This was something that was witnessed. Also, buka al-nakhla, the weeping of the date palm tree, where he used to give the khutbah from. When they built the minbar for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he gave the khutbah from the minbar, and the date tree was crying, was weeping. These are signs of prophethood. Or when the water was pouring from his fingers in abundance for the people to drink from. This is also a sign of prophethood. And these are things that are mu'jizat, that are khariq al-'ada, that come out of what is customary things. It's not normal things for people to be able to do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave each prophet a messenger signs befitting to their people. For example, the time of Isa alayhi salam, of the things that was a main prominent topic or matter during his time was at-tib, medicine. So Allah gave him signs of curing the one who was a leper, bringing back the one from dead to bring them back to life. All of this was with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It wasn't for a person to take these signs and now worship those prophets and messengers. Rather, hum ibadun la yu'badu. They are worshippers of Allah Azza wa Jalla, not to be worshipped. That's why when we say Ashhadu anna Muhammad Abdullah wa Rasuluhu sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what does it mean by saying Abdullah? When we say Abdullah, what does this mean? Abdun la yu'bad is someone who's a worshipper, a servant not to be worshipped. وكذلك بمعنى أنه أعبد الخلق لله تعالى is one who is the most in worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's being called an abd of Allah Azza wa Jalla. This is thana. This is a praise, especially for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So also was mentioned وأيدناه بروح القدس يعني أن الله أيد بجبريل عليه السلام, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aided the Isa alayhi salam, and also other than him of the Prophet and Messengers with Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam. Also Allah mentioned ثم قال الله تعالى ولو شاء الله ما قتتل الذين من بعدهم من بعد ما جاءتهم البينات ولكن اختلفوا فمنهم من آمن ومنهم من كفر. Had Allah willed, they would not have fought among each other after their prophets and messengers and after the clear signs had come to them. Because these signs are clearly from who? Allah Azza wa Jalla. However, the people, the response of the people is what is the reason for the khilaf, the qital, the fighting. From among them are those who believed and from them are those who disbelieved. And had Allah willed, they would not be fighting. ولكن كل ذلك من قضاء الله تعالى وقدره. All of this is from the divine decree of Allah Azza wa Jal. هل يسأل الله بما فعل أو بما يفعل? Do we question Allah's actions? لا. هذا أشد بابا فتح على الناس من الشيطان. This is the worst door that was opened by Iblis upon mankind. يسأل عن أفعال الله تعالى. That a person questions the actions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. حتى يقول من خلق الله. That is the reality. A person will question Allah's actions until they say, who created Allah wal-'iyadhu billah. But that's how shaitan opens the door for that person to fall into misguidance or to have shubuhat, doubts. Doubts that remove certainty of the aqidah sahiha min qulub al-nas. Allah la yus'al. Just like a king, when a king has his people underneath his authority, no one questions the king. The king says, tomorrow this is going to happen. Everyone has to what? Obey. Otherwise there's going to be some form of punishment or consequence. لكن هذا في حق الله. We're speaking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now. Why is it we question Allah's actions? علينا التسليم. We have to submit. Sometimes Allah tells us the wisdom behind matters and sometimes He doesn't. The Muslim never questions why we pray ركعتين الفجر وثلاثة للمغرب وأربعة للبقية. We don't ever question why is Fajr 2, why is Maghrib 3, why is the others 4. No one asks these questions. But when it comes to matters that Allah has decreed, we start to ask why. Why did Allah make this happen? Why does Allah make this happen? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ajaba umuman. Allah has answered, generally speaking. Why? What's the answer?
So Allah wills it.
Yeah, what else? What's the answer? What's the answer for us?
Our actions. It's our actions that.
No? But what's that, for example, what is the wisdom behind that which Allah has decreed upon mankind?
Allah knows best and we don't.
Pardon?
Allah knows best and we don't.
Allah knows best and we don't. But Allah has answered generally in the Quran.
As a way to alleviate our sins, maybe, so that He can give us a mercy paradise.
That's for some, but I'm talking about in general for everyone. Kafiran wa mu'minan.
Creator.
Trials and tribulations, so He's test our faith.
To see those
To what?
Test our faith.
Exactly. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. نعم. الذي خلق الموت والحياة لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Yani, Allah is testing us. Who's best in action? Now, Man kana mu'minan haqqan aw kadhiba. Who is truly a believer and who is lying. عند الابتلاء تتبين الحقيقة. At time of trial, it becomes clear. At time of trial, it becomes clear. We mentioned the hadith in the khutbah. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam قال بادروا بالأعمال فتنة. Hasten towards righteous actions at the time of what? Fitna. كقطع الليل المظلم. That comes at the darkness of the night. When it's pitch black, imagine at the time when the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was saying this, was there street lights? La. This is when you appreciate ulama, Ahl al-Ilm. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, if it came to him during the night, a matter regarding hadith, he would have to go and light a fire lantern just to write that one hadith. Then he will put it out, and maybe within an hour or so again, a matter regarding hadith will come to him again. He'd have to get up and set the light again and write it out. As we just do this, Allah Mubarak, light. Just like that. Light on, light off. Shaykh Al-Bani rahimahullah, they mentioned about him, he had a door and he calculated how much time the direction of the door being opened in a certain way wasted for the year. And he had the direction changed. They didn't waste time. So for example, if it opened this way, you'd have to open it and then walk around it. He had the direction changed so it didn't waste any time. Hada da'bu salaf. This is the way of the salaf. He was someone who followed the way of the salaf by way of hadith to learn time should not be wasted. And you appreciate this. You see? But again, when that time of fitna comes, Allah is testing us. Allah, in the hadith it mentions, يصبح الرجل فيها مؤمنا ويمسي كافرا أو يمسي مؤمنا ويصبح كافرا. I mentioned a person in the morning will be a believer, but by the night there will be a disbeliever, and vice versa. Why? يبيع دينه بغرض من الدنيا. They sell their religion for some commodity of the worldly life. الدنيا ملعونة. هذا كما علمنا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. الدنيا ملعونة. This dunya is cursed. Except for إلا وملعون ما فيها إلا ذكر الله. The remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يعني Quran, تلاوة القرآن, الأدعية, الأذكار, المأثورة, those supplications and du'as that are by way of the Quran and the Sunnah. Everything is cursed but remembrance of Allah. وَمَا وَاللَّهِ. And those actions that are beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything that Allah loves, that's not cursed. And we spoke previously about in the studies of Aqidah, when we speak about that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, how many things are we talking about? Who can remember? 4. When we speak about that which Allah loves, it's talking about 4 matters. Mahia, what are they? The place, time, people, and actions. Ibadat kullaha. That's why the definition of ibadah is what? كما ذكر الشيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية رحمه الله. اسم جامع لكل ما يحبه الله ويرضاه. That which Allah, it's a comprehensive noun for that which is beloved to Allah and that which Allah is pleased with. من أفعال وأقوال الظاهرة والباطنة. From statements and actions that are apparent and internal. Now, that's ibadah. Everything that Allah is pleased with. ويتقرب به الإنسان إلى ربي. And that which the person, when they do these actions, they gain closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are places that are beloved. I'm going to share a story that happened today. And subhanallah, I haven't seen the likes of this. And sometimes we become negligent of the favors Allah has bestowed upon us. After Salatul Dhuhr, a brother I haven't seen before, maybe he's seen me, he was on the verge of tears. He said, Salaam alaikum. I said, Salam to Allah. And the way he was, I'm expecting him to ask a question. And he said, Sheikh, and I'm not a Sheikh, but I'm just saying what his words was. He said, Sheikh, there was a miracle. So I'm like, okay, mashallah. And he said, I only moved to this country 1 month now. And he said, subhanallah, back home I always prayed salah in Jama'ah. But 1 month, I missed the salah Jama'ah. So I couldn't pray salah in the Jama'ah, because I didn't know where the masjid is. And I got a job next door to this masjid. And usually I work in the shop. But then someone was rude to me and said, take my trolley to the car. So I had to push the trolley from the shop to the little car park. But whilst I was doing so, I come to learn that there's a masjid. And he said, my lunch break now, I don't take food, I come for the masjid. And you see what people miss out on, what they say their heart is yearning for? His heart was yearning to pray in Jama'ah. I couldn't believe it. He said, for 1 month, it's like I can't function. He's depressed. Why? Because he's not been able to pray in the masjid, Salatul Jama'ah. But look how the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah knows what's in a person's heart. Allah knows what a person's norm is. So Allah guided him to what? A masjid. That he can pray Salatul Jama'ah. And what you learn from this, when a person, man jadda wajad, whoever strives, they will find. Whoever strives to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will guide them to the means that make it easy for them to do it. This person wanted to pray Salatul Jama'ah. That's what he wanted. That's what his heart was yearning for. So Allah showed him where the masjid was. Not only did Allah show him where the masjid was, Allah made his work next door to the masjid. Subhanallah. His rizq بجنب المسجد وقلبه معلق بالمسجد. This is a fadl from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how many of us, we look for excuse to find a way, I know my job may be haram, but I need to do it. There's no way out for me. أنا مضطر. لا أبدا. لازم تتوكل على الله. You have to trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. كل مصائب والشدائد مؤقت. Always remember that. Things of difficulty and hardship are timed. As for how long, هذا علم عند الله. ولكن دائما, we have to remember, ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. That's why we mentioned in the khutbah again, regarding the fitna of what's happening today. Allah says, حتى إذا استيأس الرسل وظنوا أنهم قد كذبوا جاءهم نصرنا. Even the prophets and messengers, they are the most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because of this, هم أشد بلاءً. They're the ones who are tested the most. إن أشد الناس بلاءً الأنبياء ثم الأمثل والأمثل أو كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Those who are tested the most are the prophets, those who have been mentioned here. Now, those who have different virtues, different tests they went through. Ulul Azm went through different tests. Alayhim salatu wassalam. Those who are similar to them, those who imitate them, you'll be tested. There is no way you can think you're a da'wah, you're calling, you're a da'i, ila al-haq, wa la tubtala, abadan. It's not possible to be someone who calls to the truth and you'll not be tested. Impossible. And whoever thinks that it's going to be a red carpet, as they say, with flashing lights, then da'wah is not for you. If you think da'wah is something that you live the best life, you get everything you want. La, this is not for you. Da'wah is of the ways of fighting for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because you are spreading at-tawheed. Awwalan wa akhiran. Your priority is to call people to tawheed. وتحذرهم من الشرك. يعني تدعو الناس إلى السنة وتحذرهم من البدع. This is it. You call people to tawheed, you warn them from الشرك. You call them to the sunnah, you warn them from innovation. Everything that opposes الصراط المستقيم. لأن الدين صراط واحد. The religion for us is only one path. There's not طرق. لا. There's no many paths. There are many paths the Prophet told us within the رأس هذه السبل والطرق شياطين. When you have these various different paths that stray from the straight one, at the heads of each and every path is what? شياطين تنادي الناس. Calling the people بالشهوات والشبهات. Calling them with that which they desire and doubts. So when we learn about the prophets and messengers, they are different in virtue, especially أولو العزم, because هم بذلوا أشد جهدا في الدعوة إلى الله. They exerted the most effort in calling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibrahim alayhi salam كان أمة بوحده. Allah referred to Ibrahim alayhi salam as being a ummah, a nation by himself. ولكن يقول العلماء الأمة هنا بمعنى الإمام. نعم. إمام يقتدى به, an imam that people follow. وأمرنا حتى في شرعنا هذا أن نتبع ملة إبراهيم. We was commanded also to follow the religion of Ibrahim عليه السلام. لأن دينه ودين النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم محمد واحد. Because the religion that he was upon and the religion of our Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم is what? Is one. Is one. We say اتفق جميع الأنبياء والرسل في أصل الدعوة. All of the prophets and messengers are in consensus. They agree in the foundations of da'wah. وقد تختلف الشريعة نزلت عندهم. However, the sharia may be different in that which was revealed to them. For things were made haram on some that were later made permissible. For example, and we'll mention this example because people still do it today. قبل الإسلام مثلا من عهد يوسف عليه السلام الناس كانوا يركعون احتراما للآخرين. People used to bow or prostrate as respect for other people. لكن هذا منهي عنه تماما في ديننا هذا. As for our Islam today, this is prohibited completely. You cannot bow your head or anything, bow down, go into sujood for anyone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But some cultures, some tribes, they do this out of respect. وهذا حرام لا يجوز. Even when you give salam, some people they do this, they give salam, they do this. La, don't do that. La, don't do that. Don't bow at all. Don't bow at all. كل انحناء لله تعالى. Any time of bowing, lowering oneself is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you'll find there are those who believe and those who disbelieve. Why? Because Allah has made ahlan lil jannah wa ahlan lil nar. Allah has made people from the fire and people from Jannah. As for the final moment of anyone is only known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you as a Muslim, as Muslims we never get tired of calling to Allah. Even the person of mistake, never give up in calling them back to the Sunnah. Can you imagine a person was strayed away from the Sunnah for long, but you strived, as much as they strayed, you strive to call them back. بالأدلة والبراهين, with proof, with Quran, Sunnah, فهم السلف. You try to call them back. وفي آخر لحظات الحياة يتوب إلى الله. And in the last moments of their life, they return back to Allah Azza wa Jalla. وَأَنْتَ سَبَبًا. And you're just a means. Can you imagine the reward for you? Can you imagine? Can you imagine someone you knew, maybe your neighbor, and they were a good person, and you wanted good for them, like in kana kafira, they were a disbeliever, but you strove to show good manners, husn khuluq wa mu'amala tayyiba, good dealings with them, wa tad'uuhum al-Islam, and you call them to Islam, kullu ma yarudduk, and every time they are saying go away, leave me alone, tartah shwayya wa tarja, you rest a bit and you come back. And the next thing you know, before قبل الممات يقول أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمد رسول الله. وأنت سبب. Can you imagine? The reward that we get for being a means for a person to embrace Islam, خير من حمر النعم. خير من حمر النعم. We don't understand this to this day and age because we don't deal with that commodity. Now, what's the dearest wealth that a person can think of for us here? What's the dearest wealth?
Good deeds.
Huh?
Good deeds.
No, wealth. Not like, obviously good deeds is the best thing. Let's say Bitcoin, yeah? If you got Bitcoin, mashallah, you hit the jackpot. I can say Bitcoin, me, I'm of the opinion that it's halal. Inshallah. La turudduni. But let's say you have Bitcoin. People all want a Bitcoin. They want to own a Bitcoin. When it was 60 grand, for example. Now, mashallah, it's half of that. But let's say Bitcoin at its peak. Everyone wants that in the dunya. If they woke up with Bitcoin, they'll make sujood al-shukr. But for one person to say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, because of your efforts in calling to Islam, is better than the Bitcoin of the dunya. Everyone's Bitcoin in your account. In the dunya, is better for you, for someone to say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, because of your efforts in calling them to Islam. Nothing in this dunya is worth exerting your effort in except for that which has khalaf. That which has fruits after you pass away, after you return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fruits in Allah yawm al-qiyamah. That's what a person should hasten towards. So giving da'wah, because there are going to be those who believe and those who disbelieve. Had Allah willed, they will not fight. Walakin they do. Why? Ibtila'an linnas. As a means of testing mankind. Don't think whenever you start calling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everyone's going to say, Jazakallahu khairan, I was waiting for this message. Some are going to say that, but then some are going to say, look at you. They're going to curse you. They're going to say wicked things about you. Why? Because if you are weak, you'll quit giving da'wah. You will stop. You will stop giving da'wah. As soon as someone calls you a name, naturally you're going to make mistakes. Who here is ma'soom min al-khata? La ahad. Hatta al-ulama, even the scholars, are they ma'soomin? La. Yukhti wa yusib. However, the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that an alim that makes a mistake, bil ikhlas, yurid al-sawab, he wants to get it right. Lahu ajr al-ijtihadihi. لكن هذا ليس لأي أحد. هذا للعلماء المجتهدين. Those ulama rabbanin have reached that level where they qualify for this reward. You see? But as for every single one of us, we can make mistake. But someone said, look, you made a mistake. You have to clarify. Someone will say, do you know what? Allah musta'an. أنا سأتوقف من الدعوة. I'm going to stop giving da'wah. I made a mistake. Of course you made a mistake. You're going to make a mistake again. Only thing you can do, the way you strive to not make mistakes, is by trying your best to follow the Quran, Sunnah, Fahm al-Salaf. If you get something wrong, someone corrects you, say, Jazakallahu khairan, you clarify, simple. Clarify, that's it. It's not the end of your world. Someone calls you a name. What did they say about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? what do they call him? Majnoon, magician, lost his faculties, fortune teller, sha'ir, poet, all of these things. Why? To turn the people away from them. So do we quit like that? No. When the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was commanded to start giving da'wah, what was he also commanded to do? At that time, what was he commanded to do also? From ibadah. Lazim min as-sabr now.
So to pray?
To pray. To pray what?
Salah?
Which salah?
Tahajjud.
Qiyamul Layl.
Yeah.
Say in the time when Surah Al-Mubtasim was revealed, قُمِ اللَّيْلَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا, they say it was wajib at that time to pray Qiyamul Layl for 1 whole year. Qiyamul Layl at that time was an obligation. And they mentioned that is what gives you strength. Subhanallah. When a person can discipline himself to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when the body wants to rest, but you have that munaza'a, that fight with the soul, and you stand before Allah Azza wa Jal, هذا دأب الصالحين. Now,
Is there like a minimum for Qiyamul Layl?
لا صلي ما شاء. يعني a person prays whatever they will, but you just pray in twos. ركعتين. No. That's why the difference of opinion regarding some say you can pray 11 and some say they do 20 Ramadan. Al-afdal ma fa'ala Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, la shak. What's best is what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam done. You see? But there's no restriction. There's no restriction. A person can pray whatever they want. Now, as you mentioned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَفْعَلُ مَا يُرِيد. Allah does whatever He wants. We don't question Allah, abadan. Rather, we are going to be questioned. A calamity befalls me, I don't say, Ya Allah, why me? يجب علي الصبر وأدعو الله أن يفرج عني. I am obliged to be patient, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to relieve me of my hardship. The one thing I struggle a lot is giving dawah to my family. And also at work, it can be challenging to properly uphold Islam. So sometimes when it comes to those who are closest to you, it's difficult. And sometimes when we say giving da'wah, it doesn't have to be verbal. Sometimes the best da'wah is action. It's what's called da'wah to samita. You don't know who's watching you. That's the reality. You never know who's watching you. Years ago, I had an accident where I had to have surgery in my wrist. So my wrist was in a sling. I'm leaving the hospital. Now I live on the same road as the hospital. And an old woman, she just came up to me and said, "Oh, what happened to you? I see you every day." I said, "I've never seen this person in my life. Like, I've never actually seen them in my life." But he said, "Yeah, I see you every day. You're fine, healthy, but then this happened to you." You don't know who's watching you. You literally don't know. You see? So it's important. In my workplace, I have the manners of a Muslim. Don't be shy. We spoke about after Salah being strong. I remember when I was in Kuwait studying, a friend of mine, he said to me, someone who's a student of mine, he said, "Sahib sunnah la yakhaf min ahad." And that's a sentence I can't forget. Sahib sunnah la yakhafu ahadan, or min ahad. A person, when we say ahad, we're talking about min al-nas. Lazim yakhaf Allah. Now, the person of the sunnah doesn't fear anyone. The only person he fears who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look what Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah said, "Ma yaf'alu bi'a'da'i." Ma yaf'alu bi'a'da'i. He said, Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, what can my enemies do to me? Why? That's haqqul tawakkul ala Allah. Complete reliance upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If they put me in prison, khalwatun ma'allah. Seclusion, it's like i'tikaf. Seclusion with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah. Al-Quran mahfuz, As-Sunnah mahfuz. So what do you need? He said, if they take me to another prison, siyaha. This is traveling, it's tourism. سبحان إذا قاتلني شهادة عجبا لأمر المؤمن كله خير. I was saying to my class yesterday, I was teaching a class yesterday, and I said, Subhanallah, الدليل هو في القرآن والسنة. What does that mean? It means that the evidence is in the Quran and the Sunnah. Ameen wa iyaakum. I said, people were sad about what's going on in Palestine. Right? Sad. We should be jealous. Because we still have the pain of what's happening. Those who died for sake of Allah, are they in pain?
No.
Abadan. ما في ألم. انقطع آلام الدنيا. The pains of the dunya have gone. لهم نعيم الآخرة. They have the bliss of the hereafter now. من مات منهم على الإسلام. Those who died from them upon Islam. يعني مقيمين بحق الله. Carrying out the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You think they're hurting? The children, you think they're in pain? ما في ألم. We're in pain. They're in حياة البرزخ.
Can't we go there?
Boy. As I said, I will never be the one to be the sacrificial lamb. نتبع أهل العلم. We follow scholars. Inshallah. And what you find today, you have brothers that warn you against the scholars, that don't say what coincides with their emotions. And that's because of lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge. And that's the reality of patience. You see, we're in times of fitna. And another thing that I will say, some people feel obliged to defend people. You're not obliged to defend anything but the Quran, the Sunnah, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba. Ulama Ahl Sunnah. We defend their honor. But as for specific individuals, you're not obliged to defend anyone. You see, what we do defend is the truth, even if it is against ourselves. And my advice to people like myself, those who are young in knowledge, and are trying to teach and benefit people, we have to know our place and our limits. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know. This needs further looking into. However, I can say as well, don't make me your reference in matters like this. قضايات تؤثر على الأمة, matters that affect the ummah, I should definitely not be your reference point. If you've made me your reference point, then we're asking for major problems. We have to go back to the major scholars. Because what happens today, as I mentioned, people are busy themselves giving TikTok da'wah, Instagram da'wah. What do? They have an opinion today and they change it by the evening. Next week they'll change it again. Why? Because all it takes is one more hadith to come. And one important matter that we have to also observe. أحكام الشرعية لا تؤخذ من نص واحد. Rulings of the Sharia are never derived from one evidence. بل من جمع النصوص وإنما هي من جمع النصوص. Rather it's with a compilation of evidences. So I have to ask myself, إذا أردت أن أتجرأ في الفتوى, I want to be courageous and give fatwa. يعني ما إمكاني في جمع النصوص. What's my ability in combining all of these nusus? يعني كيف اطلاعي? How is my readings and my access to all of this information for me to come and say X, Y, and Z? As I said, we're using Mukhtasar ibn Kathir as the main mu'tamad for Tafseer. This is one volume book. I have Tafseer in my office downstairs, that's 13 volumes. Another one that's 10. Another one that's 6. All different things are going to be mentioned. Then I have another Tafseer that focuses on Raddu Ahl al-Bid'ah bil-Quran. That's a whole different type of Tafseer. Because sometimes you have an ayah. Al-Zahir laysa al-Maqsood. That which is apparent is not what is intended. كيف تتعلم هذا? How do you learn this? By way of tafsir. I can't just take one ayah and say it means this. Look how many times the kuffar try to use the ayah. It says فَقُتُلُوهُمْ حَيْثُ ثَقِفْتُمُوهُم. Kill them wherever you find them. See, look how harsh your religion is. Is this talking about just anyone? ما المقصود من الآية؟ في من أنزلت. Who was it revealed about? That's what we look at as Muslims. We don't just say, if the Muslims took the ayah as the kafir took the ayah, I would say, you really want to have this discussion right now? Because you know what I'm supposed to do. I found you. That's the reality, isn't it? If it was like that, I found you. If that's your interpretation, you know what's supposed to happen now. But that's not the case. And that's the difference between the person who has knowledge and the one who just takes from their desires. They read by themselves. As I say, من كان شيوخه كتابه أو كتبه فأخطأه أكثر من صوابه. Whoever takes their books as their scholars, and their mistakes will be more than that which they get correct. A person reads by themselves and says, yes, it means this. I believe it means this. لا بد من رجوع إلى أهل العلم. ممكن تفهم بالغلط. Maybe you understood incorrectly. You see? Or maybe you've read one hadith but there's something else that's missed you. Maybe because your lack of understanding of the Arabic language. هذا شيء عام ثم هناك شيء ما يخصصه. You see? Or for example, اختلف الصحابة مثلا في مسألة. كيف أتعامل مع اختلاف بين الصحابة؟ هذا قضايات يعني فسروا فيها العلماء. These are matters the scholars have gone into details in books of usul. People will read ilm al-ghaya without the mafatih. Everyone would look at the exterior of a big house, many doors, but they don't have the keys to access. So what do? In trying to enter, they cause damage. Because the only way to get in is to break things. So what happens when I don't have the keys to access the objective? I break principle, whether it's knowingly or unknowingly. And that's when people cause more harm than goodness. When we learn and have knowledge, we learn, for example, to be quiet. Having knowledge doesn't mean you're meant to speak the most. You actually learn. For me right now, it's not even time to talk. Sheikh Mashrou Hassan, Hafidullah, one of the senior students of Sheikh Al-Bani, he mentioned, especially with the issue of Palestine, he said no one should be speaking except for the major scholars. No one. Why? Because all it takes is one person to say the wrong thing, وَأَفْسَدَ الدُّنْيَا. That's the reality. It takes one young person to say, oh, but the scholars haven't spoken yet. So that means I need to speak. No, you need to call the sheikh and ask him, why haven't you spoken yet? And learn from the wisdom to why they haven't spoken yet. Or they've spoken, but it's not how you want them to speak. And also, we mentioned, An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam قال سترون بعدي أثرة وأمورا تنكرونها. And we repeat this until it becomes memorized. Those who live after me are going to see rulers and matters that you don't like. Matters that you don't like. So what does he say? أَدُّوا حُقُوقَهُمْ. When they ask you, give them their rights. وَصُلُوا اللَّهَ حَقَّكُمْ. And ask Allah for yours. Whatever you need, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask Allah Azza wa Jal. I mentioned in another narration, فَاصْبِرُوا حَتَّى تَلَقَّوْنِ. When you see these people, these rulers and the likes, doing things that displease Allah, doing things that you detest, doing things that you don't like, be patient until you meet the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It doesn't say speak bad about them, curse them, call them kuffar and the likes. Allahu musta'an. Hal umirna bihada, was we commanded with this? La. This is what causes corruption in the land. Rather, I see something I don't like, I'm not able to change it because I'm not a person of authority physically. I don't have enough knowledge to warn against it. Then I have to be patient, hate it in my heart, be quiet. Be quiet. Because all you're going to do is cause fasad. Because the moment I say someone's a kafir, what do I do? What have I done?
The hadith says, if you're wrong about it, one of you are kafir.
If you're wrong, it goes back to you. But in the dunya, what have I done that's so dangerous?
Might become unbeliever.
أحللت دمه وماله. I've made his wealth and his blood lawful. When I say this person's a kafir, I say his life is lawful. His wealth is lawful. His honor, lawful. Ajaban, I heard the funniest statement. There's no such thing as backbiting madkhalis. Allah al-Musta'an. Even these terms, madkhali, wahabi, stay away from this. Stay away from this. This is the ways that the people of innovation try to attack the people of the Sunnah. We ask in matters of difference, طيب, إذا اختلفنا ما أمرنا به, what was we commanded with? فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله والرسول. When you have difference in anything, who do you go back to? The Quran and the Sunnah. Okay, with whose understanding? How I understand it, me, Ibrahim, me, Miskeen from Croydon, Brixton, is it my understanding? Al-Qurun al-Mufaddala. The first 3 generations of Islam. So when you find there's difference, this is how we judge between us. With evidence. Not my opinion. Not what I think, not what you think. As soon as someone says, I think, say, Jazakallah khair, Salaam alaikum. End of discussion. I don't even want to allow you to speak with your own opinion. Because that's not what we was commanded with. نحن يعني متبعين. We are those who follow. We are not those who come with things that are new. Like in worldly matters, of course, mashallah, you can build technology, إبداع. كن مبتدعا كما شئت في الدنيا. Be an innovator in worldly matters as much as you like. As for Deenullah, abadan. As for the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, la. لا تبتدع ولا تكن مشهورا للبدع. Don't become someone who brings something new to Islam. Whether it's understanding of a hadith, understanding of an ayah, don't bring anything new. Follow those who preceded you. Then you'll be safe. Because it says, من كذب عليه متعمدا يتبوأ مقعده من النار. Whoever lies upon me intentionally, let them take their place in the hellfire. That's because they mentioned if a person guessed the tafsir of an ayah, they guessed and they got it right, they still considered to be a liar. Why? تكلم بغير علم. He spoke with no knowledge. One of the mashayikh gave a major benefit to us when he was asking when he studied Usul al-Fiqh. One of the teachers asked him, Shaykh, what do I do? People ask me fatwa and stuff on the spot. He said, قل لا أعلم. ليس عيبا. It's not a deficiency to say I don't know. هل جعلنا الله تعالى عالمين بكل شيء? Did Allah make us those who know everything? No. So there's no problem saying لا أدري. والله أعلم. There's nothing wrong with this. Or to say to them, look, I don't know. Let me research and get back to you. If you have the ability to research. But you're not obliged. Imam Malik, rahimahullah, they asked him, Sheikh Fawzan, rahimahullah, I think he said about 40 questions. For 36 of them he said, I don't know. La adri. And she said, this is Imam Malik. The thing he says, one of the A'immatul Ahl Sunnah. They said they traveled from a distance. What are we going to tell the people? He said, tell them, Imam Malik doesn't know. Khalas. Hal hada aib? Is this something to criticize a person for? No. La. But if I speak without knowledge, then what happens?
You have to account.
I'm held accountable. Now I've done wrong. What's the Tafseer book called? You mentioned that discuss Ahlul Bid'ah wrong intent. This book is called An-Nukat. It's about 4 volumes. Sheikh Ali Tuwaijri, he's one of the teachers of Masjid al-Nabawi in Tafsir. He, part of his doctor PhD thesis, he done the checking of one volume, of one of the volumes. Now,
So, how confident do you have to be in the knowledge of something to be able to pass it on them without speaking without knowledge? Like, for example, if your children or close family are asking about something, like, do you have to like go to a proper university and stuff?
no, look at this. Al-Aqeedah mabni ala amrayn. Al-Quran was Sunnah. Aqeedah is built upon yaqeen. There's no room for ijtihad. There's no qiyas in Aqeedah. Qiyas al-Quran, Sunnah, ijma'. It's straight agreed upon. So for example, we teach the children Aqeedah, and there's books that can guide you for this question and answer that scholars have written in the form of question and answers for children. One's Kanz al-Atfal, another one is Su'al al-Ajwiba, La yastagni anhu as-saghir wal-kabir. Some of them have been translated to English, and you just literally teach them, this is the question. If someone asks you this, here's the answer. Man Rabbuk? Allah. Man Nabiyyuk? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Teach them some things about the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are things of ilm al-durura. كل واحد يعني يعلم. Everyone knows these matters. See? But things that need fatwa. Now, what's the ruling of someone who does this? Maybe I don't know. You see? You need to know, for example. But there's matters, for example, anything that's worship, we know قطعا إذا صرف لغير الله فهو الشرك. Anything that's a matter of worship, if it's done for other than Allah, it is what? Shirk. We don't have doubt in that. No. So we say هذا فعل شرك. خلاص. No. We don't need to even go to anyone. نحكم الفعل. We just judge immediately on the action. As for تنزيل الحكم على الشخص, as for applying a ruling to a person, هذا يحتاج رجوع إلى العلماء. This goes back to consulting scholars. For example, هناك مسائل ارتفاع الموانع. You have to lift the obstacles of applying the rule to a person. There may be some obstacles that make them not deserving for that rule to be applied on them. But if those things have been removed, then you say the ruling may be applied on that person. You see? For example, there's no doubt a person who goes to the grave makes dua to the dead in the grave, mushrik. فعله الشرك وهو مشرك. That's the reality. هل نقول أنه خارج الإسلام؟ هذا يحتاج تنزيل الحكم. That comes down to applying rules to a person. That's not for general people. Because a person is given force istitab, they can turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There may be a situation they didn't know. Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Badr, Hafidh ta'ala, he was talking about a situation in the masjid, in the haram. Someone was making dua. وَكَانَ يَبْكِي بُكَاءً شَدِيدًا. And they were weeping. فَكَانَ يَتَأَثَّرْ مِنْ هَذا المنظر. He was affected by seeing this. Obviously, you see someone, for example, in Tarawih, the person next to you is crying in Salah, it affects you. You're wondering, why is this person crying? What do they know that I don't know, for example? Or what's that person going through? You start to think like this, right? So he said he drew nearer to the person and he realized they were making dua to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hada what? What's the rule of this? Shirk. لا شك. لأن النص الصريح, the hadith is clear as day. الدعاء هو العبادة. Dua is worship. All worship is dua. Your salah, your siyam. Why? Because you have dua al-mas'ala. وَالدُّعَاء بِلِسَانِ الْحَالِ. With your salah, any act of worship you do, what are you asking Allah for with the act of worship? That He accepts it and you go to Jannah. Even if you don't say it, that's why you're doing the action. هذا يسمى دعاء بلسان الحال. Dua by way of circumstance. So after this, Shaykh Abdul Razak, he pulled the person aside and he said to them, ما شاء الله دعوت يعني كنت تدعو وكنت متأثرا بدعائك ولكن قلت بعض الأشياء وهل علمت أن الدعاء هو العبادة وأنه لله وحده. And do you know that dua is only for Allah alone and it's an act of worship? And he mentioned all these evidences. Then he said to him, what do you think about what I said to you? And this is where you have al-udhr bil-jahl, an excuse by way of ignorance. The person who was just making dua to other than Allah said to the Shaykh, قلت قال الله وقال الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم وتسأل عن رأيي. You told me Allah said, the Prophet Muhammad said, and you're asking for my opinion? He said, Wallahi, no one has said what you said to me before in my life. So maybe wherever he's from, يكون قرية على الجهل. It may be a place that is built upon ignorance. They have no scholars, no people of knowledge, no one teaching them. Or they have ulama as-su, people that teach them innovation, grave worshippers, ahl tasawwuf, whatever it is. He never heard that dua is only for Allah. He was taught that you can make dua to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But as soon as evidence came to him, سمعنا وأطعنا. I hear and I obey. I have no opinion. You said Allah said, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, how can you ask my opinion now? But today, what's our issue? You tell someone Allah said, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the Sahaba never did this. This is how they understood it. Say, yeah, but my uncle, my Imam, at the time of the Sahaba, Ibn Abbas, and he said to someone, you're telling me Omar and Abu Bakr, I'm saying to you the Messenger of Allah. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, there's no comparison. You cannot bring anyone's statement before the statement of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But today this is what we do. They say, you're not the messenger. I say, but I'm not. What did I say? Did I say my speech? Or the speech of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? For example, celebrating the birth of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. How is it that, mashallah, after 400 years, they learned to love the Messenger of Allah more than his wives, more than the companions? Ajib. Mashallah, someone had a dream or something. There's a new way to show love for the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Celebrate his birthday. But Aisha anha never did it. Ummahat al-Mu'mineen never did it. Imam al-Madina, بعد الصحابة, Imam Malik never did it. Anas ibn Malik, radiyallahu anhu, who lived the longest of the Sahaba, the happiest day in his life, 10 years old, he met the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His mom gave him to the Prophet and said, you are to serve the Messenger of Allah. This is all I can give you. The saddest day of his life, the death of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Did he ever mention the birthday? Let alone celebrate it? But as soon as we say we shouldn't do it, لا تحبون النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. You don't love the Messenger of Allah. أنتم غلات, أنتم متشددة, أنتم مجسمة, أنتم مداخلة, أنتم وهابية, أنتم سلفية, أنتم. They start to curse you. Yeah, no, alhamdulillah, I'm Salafi. أنا أفتخر بهذا إن شاء الله. I'm proud of this. Why? لأن هذا اتباع السلف. This is following the Salaf. You see? That's why I remember the time when they were promoting the birthday of the Prophet Al-Jahil. What did he say? He said, oh, they say they're Salafi, but all of them are dead. Because the Salafi means the pious predecessors, none of them are alive now. Jahil, you're exposed, you shouldn't even talk again. Don't ever do anything online again until you have knowledge. All you need to learn is the Arabic language, and you learn one of the early chapters, Ya al-Nisbiyya, the Ya of attribution. No one can say I'm Pakistan, can they? I can say I'm Pakistan. Say I'm in Pakistan, I'm a Pakistani. I have to attribute myself to the place. No one can say I'm Salaf. Why? Because the Salaf refers to the first 3 generations of Islam. But I say, I attribute myself to them. A person asking, why do we have these names? Why don't we just say I'm Muslim? What's the answer? Why don't I just say I'm Muslim?
Is it not the 72 sects and the 126?
Nah, but why do we say I'm Salafi today and I don't say I'm just Muslim?
Because there's so many different, differing ways of.
Everyone says they're Muslim. Nation of Islam say they're Muslim. No, but we have to natamayaz. If the Shi'i says he's Muslim, the Sufi says he's Muslim, the Ash'ari says he's Muslim, the Mu'tazili says he's Muslim, the Jahmi says he's Muslim, the Qur'ani says he's Muslim, ما فرق بينهم إذن? What's the difference between them? All Muslim. ولكن هل هم يتبعون السلف? Do they follow the Sahaba and the Tabi'in وأتباع التابعين? لا. And that's why we distinguish ourselves from them by saying Salaf, Salafi. Or for example, Ahl al-Hadith. Why would someone say I'm Ahl al-Hadith? In a situation people yunkirun al-Hadith. People that rejected Hadith at a time. Now, أنا أهل الحديث, أهل الأثر. You see? أهل السنة والجماعة. This was mentioned by Ibn Abbas. That name, that title, هم أهل السنة والجماعة. He mentioned these words. You see? Because what's the difference between أهل السنة والجماعة and أهل البدع? هم أهل البدع والفرقة. They are the people of innovation that cause division. The best صفة of أهل السنة والجماعة يجمعون الناس على القرآن والسنة وما أجمع عليه السلف. They bring people together with the habl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As for Ahl al-Bid'ah wal-Furqa, they are the ones who cause division. Because all them cause to what is with them to differ from these people. None of Ahl Sunnah calls to themselves. No one from Ahl Sunnah calls to themselves. And if you find someone who says he's from Ahl Sunnah or who is Salafi, but he's calling people to himself, فهذا ليس بسلفي. هذا ليس بسلفي أبدا. لأن السلفي لا يدعو إلى نفسه. قال الله تعالى قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وأنا من المشركين أو كما قال الله تعالى. So to Yusuf, this is my path. I call to Allah myself and those who follow me. هذا دعوة إلى الله ودعوة إلى السنة ليس إلى الأشخاص. It's not to individuals. As I said, when we understand this, we understand the reality that today I might be upon the haqq, ask Allah thabat. We ask Allah to make us firm. Because today, and this is what we have to understand. Today, you might sit on the same table as someone. They call to Allah, they call to the Sunnah. Mimma dhahara, like from that which is apparent. A couple of weeks, they start to do some different things. Did you know this was going to happen? La. Lasta mukallaf bihada. You're not blameworthy for this. Hada alayhi huwa. That's on him. You see, you can only act on what is what? Apparent from a person until they show you otherwise. And that's why we don't call to individuals. Today people they ask you, what's your opinion about that person, that person, that person? If I give you principle, you apply it to everyone. If I give you principles of the Salaf, by studying the books of the Salaf in Aqidah, you apply it to anyone. You don't even need to mention the name. You'll see straight away this person is doing this, خلاص. وحذر منه. وأبتعد. You'll know based upon what? Principle. Because see, when it comes to Aqidah, a manhaj of the Salaf is agreed upon. There's no difference. It's based upon foundations. As for matters when there's room for difference, then that's matters that don't oppose the usul, the principles, the foundations. But again, a person says, okay, what are these foundations? When you study the books of Aqidah, you'll come to know. ومن أحسن ما ألف في هذا الباب عقيدة الواسطية لشيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية رحمه الله. No.
Just to clarify, sorry, but as a layman, it's not. Would I be right in assuming that it's not for us though to label someone as that? If we can recognise it ourselves, then we keep that to ourselves. But it's not for us as a layman to label somebody as what we're saying. Like, you know, we say judging from what's apparent.
No.
You know how you're saying people are throwing out the terms, madkhalis and all this kind of stuff. Then
yeah, it's best that we stay focused. Like, as a layman, what do I know? As I said, the brother said to me last time, he goes to another masjid to pray salah. That masjid he grew up in. Someone said, what's your thoughts on the masjid? He said, what does this even mean? All he can think of, a masjid, Baytullah, فيها صلاة, فيه صلاة. وفيه تعليم القرآن, وفيه تراويح. When a layman thinks of the masjid, they're thinking, house of Allah, you worship Allah there. They're not going to understand me and say, what do you think about the masjid? What do you mean? As I said last time, how's the carpet? Does it need a new paint job? That's what they're going to be thinking about. Is it cold? Is it hot? They're not going to be thinking about manhaj. They don't know this. And that's why we have to understand principles. لَيْسَ كُلُّ عِلْمٍ يُقَال. Not everything known is said. And the athar attributed to Ali ibn Abi Talib عنه, حَدِّثُ النَّاسِ بِمَا يَعْرِفُونَ. Speak to people of that which they can comprehend. أَتُرِيدُ أَن يُكَذِّبَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. Do you want them to deny Allah and His Messenger? How many people they reject things of the Sunnah not because of what is said, but because it's not the right time, that person's not ready for that knowledge, and also how it was said to them. You see, a person's new Muslim say, don't go to that masjid, they're people of innovation. What? They give me salam, they're cool, they're fine. What do you mean? They wear the thobe, they grow the beard. What do you mean the people of innovation? Hold on a minute, what's innovation? You don't even worry about it, you're not ready yet, but just listen to what I'm saying to you though. And this is when we laugh. Like, I saw some comments the other day on the video. Warning against a person on a public page on Instagram. And the comments show why we have to be careful. In the comments, the Muslims saying, you're backbiting, you're slandering, this is lies. How are you dealing with your Muslim brother like this? Why are you bringing this to the public, general people? We don't understand these things. And that's the reality. These matters are not for general people. You see? Perhaps I'm going to warn someone from someone till they say, do you know what? I can't trust anyone now. I'm not going to take from anyone. They take from Iblis, the waswas, the shahawat. They return back to ma'asi. Sometimes they even leave Islam because it becomes overwhelming. You have some young brothers, the ones who suffer the most are those who are not mentally stable. They're not mentally stable. They are the worst when it comes to this information. When they say, oh, warn against that person, they don't understand how to deal with it. And people that suffer with mental health issues, sometimes they become attached to matters. So now, that becomes the thing that they deal with. Now they're only warning, making Instagram page. They'll start making 20 pages. They got 20 pages, all banner page. It's the same person. 20 social media pages. Like, we got these people in our life. What this person called Sheikh Meow. That's his name, Sheikh Meow. And they're asking questions, like he did last lesson, to distract people from knowledge. Me, when I see this, I question sanity. Wallahu a'lam. You see? Or he's one of those ones who says, stay away from me. I'm not someone to take knowledge from. As we have them in Croydon, I already know who they are, but they're scared to talk to me. Because I put out the challenge a number of times, and I put the challenge out again. If you think I'm not upon the sunnah, come and talk to me. I'm waiting for advice. Because no one has advised me directly with anything to say. I've opposed the Salaf in any of these matters. But they will still tell people, don't go Croydon ICT. So the challenge is there again. My office is open. I'll make tea for you as well. And I'll put as much sugar in it as you want. And we can have the conversation. If the conversation is long, I'll make you another cup of tea as well. Because me, I wouldn't want to be from Ahlul Bid'ah. Who wants to? You see? And it's when you realize who's mukhlis and who's not. You see, a person, they don't give salam. I've had brothers here not give me salam or not return salam. I'm like, okay, cool. Do you think I'm going to be like sad? Why me? Look, give me salam, please. That's your issue. That's not my issue. Something's wrong with you. I don't even know you. And this is the sadness of ignorance. And what happens, maybe later they may grow up, they learn some knowledge, but they still don't know how to rectify. They still don't know how to say, do you know what, Akhi, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have treated you that way. They will still maintain not talking to you. These times, returning the salam is wajib. And the Prophet even responded to the Yahudi and said, wa alaykum. But we can't return salam, so he's Ahlul Bid'ah. MashaAllah. So why don't you say salam alaykum, akhi, uhibbuka fillah, araka ala bid'ah, mumkin natakallam. Yani Allah, for the sake of Allah, I don't want you to be a person of Jahannam. I see that you've made some innovation, maybe you're on bid'ah, let's talk. I say, okay, come, tafakkar. But no discussion. Stay away from that one. Why? Yani he's not clear. Allah musta'an. We ask Allah to rectify our affairs. As we said in the beginning, لِنَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. When you tread this path, you're not meant to be accepted by everyone. You're not meant to be accepted by the masses. And don't waste your time with those who criticize, that you neglect those who actually come to benefit. Because what you'll watch, you'll see what happens. The people that busy themselves and they're not students of knowledge, they actually have a disease of desires that they love to speak about people. You'll watch the person who seeks knowledge to gain closeness to Allah and the one who seeks knowledge to warn against people. You'll see the way the one who seeks it for Allah, Allah elevates them. They actually learn knowledge, they learn principle, they learn the Quran. As for those who have ulterior motives and busy themselves with warning against people, speaking about people's honor, you'll realize that that's the only thing that they learn. That is the only thing that they learn. They'll be in salah saying, I wonder if this Imam is Salafi or not. Any bit waswas. That's the worst type of salah to have. Imagine, even me, I wonder sometimes, not in the salah, after I say, the guy doesn't even give me salam. How can he pray behind me? How can he feel okay to pray behind me? Maybe he's doing this in Islam. I hate him. He's not Salafi. Anyway, I hate praying behind him in my heart. Allah musta'an. May Allah guide us. May Allah guide us and make us firm. And this is the dua. The Prophet used to make this dua. You know, Allah show us the haqq as the haqq and make us of those who follow it. Now, and also show us the falsehood as falsehood and make us of those who don't follow it. You see, nobody who's sincere wants to be a person of innovation. So from ikhlas, ad-din al-nasiha. Didn't the Prophet tell us this? Ad-din al-nasiha. The religion is advice. But unfortunately, these people, they don't want to advise, they want to warn. They enjoy it. They enjoy it. And I enjoy having that moment where I can laugh about it because it doesn't affect me. But as I said, I wasn't joking. You can come and have tea with me. The tea will not be filled with innovation. Inshallah. Is there a sunnah to make tea? La, it's from the mubahat. Culturally.
Yes.
No.
My tea is different.
Your tea is different, Sheikh. Your tea is very different. Your tea has salaf. I think your tea, Sheikh, has isnad. Mine is mursal. Mudallas, there's inqita' fi sanad. And his tea only comes in Ramadan. MashaAllah. So if you want, the Sheikh's tea it has ijaza. Imam Ibrahim has certified this tea. Ijaza, Sheikh Musa's tea, MashaAllah, only for Ahl al-Khair, Ahl al-Masjid, في رمضان ونسأل الله أن يبلغنا رمضان والله نحن في اشتياق إلى رمضان. We miss Ramadan. Now we're depressed right now. We need Ramadan. Wallahi, we need Ramadan. Wallahi, I would love that we can have the feeling of Ramadan even when it's not Ramadan. And what is the main thing that you feel in Ramadan? Al-Jama'ah.
Brotherhood.
Al-Jama'ah. And that is evidence of our sickness. That we only have Jama'ah once a year. For 30 days. And sometimes it's only the first 10 of them. Only the first 10 of them. You know, we could have the feeling of Ramadan every day if we wanted to. But it requires effort. It requires effort. That we come together upon the haqq. Not just the name of being a Muslim. لا يمكن أن نجتمع إلا على حبل الله. It's not possible. And that is the qaid, that is the restriction I mentioned. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا. Everyone holds onto the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's it. When we do this, we'll find ourselves upon goodness. You see? Even if you have people you don't agree with in the masjid, you'll still come. It won't make you go to the streets and not come to the masjid. If we truly hold to the rope of Allah, when there's frictions, we'll solve it straight away. But it's because we don't. We don't. We let ego and pride get the best of us. We no longer talk. In Tafseer surah Al-Hujurat, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. You know, rectify between your brothers. They mentioned إِذَا اجْتَمَعْتُمْ عَلَى الطَّاوِلَةِ. If everyone sat at the table, لَا بُدْ أَنْ يَتَبَيَّنَ الظَّالِمُ من المظلوم دائما ويا لابد يتبين الحق من الباطل. When everyone comes together and we sit down and we have a discussion like men, as we should be able to do so, it will become clear without a shadow of a doubt who is the one who's been oppressed and who was oppressed. Who is the one upon the truth and who is upon falsehood. But for me, what speaks the most volumes of words is when people don't want to sit down. When they don't want to come to the table, that shows you're hiding something. Or you don't feel certain that you are upon the truth. Otherwise, you would come. It's not a public thing, but it's for those who need to be there. We sit down. Who's done wrong? What's your evidence? Then it becomes clear. But if we're not able to do this, that shows there's something missing in how we uphold that rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or we start to believe that Islam is from ourselves and it's not from Allah Azza wa Jal. And that the sunnah is only with us and no one else can be upon the sunnah. Allah yahdi man yasha. Allah guides those whom He wills. You see. Sorry, there are some cultures when they give salam to an elder, you shake their hand and bring it to your forehead in a way of respect and honor, I suppose. If it involves bowing down, then you shouldn't do it. If you don't have to bow down, then it's okay. But inshallah ta'ala, these are the things that we make dua for. The Muslim, the best supplication you can make is in the absence of your brother. Make dua for your brothers, even those who have gone extreme. Even those who harm you and say you're not Salafi, you're not upon the Sunnah because you're not with them. Make dua for them. Make dua that Allah opens their eyes and grants them knowledge. Also make dua for those who are oppressed. Make dua for those who are going through affliction. See, even those who go down these roads of being extreme and the like, they are afflicted. They are afflicted in some shape or fashion. Make dua for them. Never be happy for a person's downfall. Never be happy for a person's downfall. And as I mentioned before, don't close the door for tawbah. Never close the door for a person to rectify their affairs. But we have to stop here, inshallah ta'ala, as I have to go home. We have to go home. We got another class. فجزاكم الله خيرا. نسأل التوفيق وسداد ما يحبه ويرضاه. اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا وحبيب محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Tomorrow's class in Aqidah, continuing the book of Hafid al-Hakimi, 200 questions and answers. This week there won't be a class on Thursday of the Surah. There will be no class this week Thursday. As for tomorrow, you'll have the class as normal, inshallah. Maybe the Surah class I'll do on Wednesday this week. Maybe on Wednesday I'll do the Surah class after Isha instead of Thursday, as I won't be here on Thursday, inshallah. فجزاكم خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.